Hello there. Thanks for watching or listening to VIP Boxing's final bell-to-bell pod of 2023, episode 140. We'll have a little break over Christmas, and maybe John, myself, and Woody might get together and record a bit of a New Year special if John's got the time between Christmas and New Year. You up for that, John?
Got plenty of time these days, Steve. Yeah, I can squeeze in 40 minutes.
All right then, mate. Yeah, well, people watching YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, we'll give you a little Christmas bonus and stick it out just before the New Year. You know me, Steve. You know John Evans. Tonight's special guest, second appearance for upcoming Manchester trainer Ryan Bradley, also a voice we're getting to hear on VIP TV quite a bit. How are you, Ryan?
Good, thank you. That's a nice introduction.
Yeah, we've got to be nice to you, mate. You're getting a few fighters of stables growing out. How are things going now? I've just seen you got Reese Woods, who's preparing for a big 2024. Rob Parry's gone with you now. I know people might see he's 2-1, but everyone I know who's had him in the gym, as previous trainers, has said how hard he punches.
Yeah, I've got Reese Woods. Obviously, we know Reese, established VIP fighter now. I took on Ryan Hibbert, Road Warrior, the back end of a couple of months back. So just waiting clearance from the board for Ryan. And yeah, Rob Parry. Rob Parry came over to me over the last couple of weeks. We gelled really well. But yeah, he is 2-1. But we had a discussion about the one at the York Hall, and he was a little aggrieved by the result. Been on the pads with him, and he bangs. He hits like a mule already, and he's a big lad. So we'll see what we can go. He's told me what he wants to get out of the sport, and our kind of thoughts align. So looks like it's going to be. And I've got the young girl, a gym product, Jess, who is going to turn over in the new year. She'll fight at Super Bantam. So we should have got our work cut out, haven't we, in the new year? And then should be a
good
big 2024 for us.
For growing blimey, yeah, going to be a busy gym. You're going to be out every weekend, I hope. We will be with Ryan Hibbert. He'll be in big demand.
Well, I've got he's a tough road warrior, one of the toughest road warriors, Ryan, and he looks tough as well. And then when you watch him, and he loves to scrap. I suppose you have to live him growing up in Salford. But no, it looks like it's a big 2024. Reese is back out in February in the box-off final at the York Hall, the hallowed York Hall. And then Rob intends to be out Feb. I think it will probably be the same time with Rye. We're just going through the application process with the board, etc. I think that might be later on. But yeah, a big start to the year for us.
Brilliant. John, I tell you what, we're going to kick on this week. John, round one is yourself, Mr. Evans, and I know it's a boxer you love, and I haven't seen the fight of the weekend. You can tell us all about it. John, and Devin Haney.
I'm not going to lie, before the fight, I was more of a fan of Prograis. I love Regis Prograis. When you speak to him, he's one of the best people to speak to in the sport. Honest as the day comes, real character. I've seen him up close from 6 feet away a few times, and I fancied him to really give Haney murders on Saturday night. I thought he was being badly overlooked. Haney was sensational. I thought that was one of the best performances of the year. We've seen a few this year. We saw Crawford take Spence apart. We saw Inoue take Fulton apart. Haney taking Prograis apart goes right up in that bracket. It was like a punch-perfect performance. And I'm a Haney believer now because I know how good Prograis is. He looked big at the weight. He looked like he could punch at 140. Any questions people had, I was one of them. But Lomachenko gave him everything he could handle at a late stage of Lomachenko's career. Well, he's put that behind him now. I thought Haney looked a pound-for-pound fighter. I thought that was really, really as good as you can get. So, yeah, what you both thought of Devin Haney against Prograis?
No, I haven't seen it, so I'll pass over to Ryan.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, John. He looked massive at the weight. You looked him and Prograis together. He looked huge at the weight. But I think for me, I'm one on Devin Haney. I wasn't massively sold. I hadn't seen too much of him. But seen the last few fights and I watched this morning. I watched the highlights from the weekend. And it's his range management for me. He's outstanding. He'll throw his shots now. He keeps it nice and simple. He's in and out, but it's how he governs that range, especially you watch an orthodox fight at southpaw, it can look a little bit messy, but there was none of that. His movement, he threw his shots, his movement off coming out of the shots there was outstanding. And he rocks Prograis at one point. I can't remember what round it was. And instead, like most fighters would jump all over him, he sits back and just carries on nice and like George Foreman used to do. When George Foreman used to rock someone, and maybe because he was big, he took his time like an Iceman and walked onto him, no stress. I think Haney was the same with Prograis yesterday. He had him rocked, and instead of rushing his work, which Prograis would have wanted him to do, to get involved in a bit of a firefight, took his time, sat back, and then went about his business. Like, go with John, a punch-perfect performance from him last night, or over the weekend. He was outstanding.
Yeah, he seems to bring a whole new look. I mean, I don't go big on stats, but was it something like 28 shots or something the other guy landed? It was ridiculously low figure that Prograis landed. Brings a whole new meaning to the analogy. Can't lay a glove on him, doesn't it? Incredible.
I saw it. I was 6 feet away when Prograis fought Flanagan in New Orleans. And,
of course, yeah.
And Prograis was so good, so clever, so slick, so fast. I don't know. Haney made him look like a beginner.
Yeah, he nullified everything along those lines, did he?
Brilliant performance.
Yeah.
You would have thought he was the champion and he was the challenger. There was it was like John said, punch perfect performance from Haney. Outstanding. I think he reminds me of a young Sugar Ray Leonard, which is high praise indeed. But he looks that good.
Fine.
Big praise. Right, round 2. Over to you, Ryan. Ben Whittaker, one of the Marmite fighters.
He is a Marmite, and that's exactly what I was when I gave him a subject. I was like, I was going to say Marmite fighter because he is a Marmite fighter. Ben Whittaker, I am not his biggest fan. Well, boxing ability wise, he's outstanding. But the showboating kills me. The showboating kills because if Reese or any of them in the gym put their hands down for even a split second, because I'm obviously trying to channel it in a certain way. But with Whittaker, it's the dancing in the ring, the histrionic. I suppose you've got to buy into it. We've not seen anybody since Naz do that, but Naz backs it up. Now, I know with Ben Whittaker, he's 4 fights in, and he is miles above the level that he's. I know he's got to go through the stages, but he is head and shoulders and everything above these guys that he's fighting. But for me, you've just got to bite. I'd be interested to see once we see him stepping up the levels, and you're going to see. You know what it's like when you're fighting these away fighters who are going to come and basically tuck up. You got to find the key that opened the door, and he did manage to stop him. Mark Leicester gave the stoppage in the last round yesterday, but he's an outstanding. He's going to be an outstanding talent. You can see it, but it's if you can buy into the histrionics, which I feel like I make a deal with the devil every time I watch him, because it's yesterday I was like, right, I can't watch anything that he puts on social media or anything, but when he's in the ring, he is outstanding. Watching the shuffling and stuff like that, it reminds me of Naz, even down to the gear he wears. He's clearly taking inspiration from somewhere, but Naz could back it up with that power in his hand, couldn't he? Naz had that unbelievable left hand, whereas I saw Kev Marie put something on social media today, and I think it'd be a brilliant fight. He said Callum Simpson against Ben Whittaker. He said, which I think, if you go up those levels, that'd be a fight and a half for him, wouldn't it? Callum Simpson's a tough kid. He's been sparred with Beterbiev, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I would love to see something like test at a level like that to see what Whittaker's capabilities are.
I love him. I can go with. I'm a big fan of. But what I do want to do is see a bit quicker. And this is not picking on Ben. And we discussed after the Olympics that he'd be Marmite. But you know what? We're going to talk about him later. But more people in the mainstream, not in boxing, talk about him than they do Sonny Edwards, who's in a brilliant unification. He's already bigger in the mainstream. I love him. I'd like to see him step up now. You know what? I'd like to see him fight someone like a Mickey Ellison soon.
Yeah,
that'd be an ideal fight. Someone who isn't a giant light heavyweight, or who's all. I mean that would be an ideal fight. But now I'm going to disagree. I love all the the plate, the showboat, and all that. I think that's the part of his attitude. John, are you with me or are you with Ryan?
Oh, you know, I'm with you. I love it.
Yeah, I knew he was going to say that, Ryan.
He's he can back it up. He won a silver medal in the Olympics. That's an outrageous achievement. He can bang. That was brutal finish last night. And I think the showboating's part of his style. You see a lot of people labour with these journeymen. They just can't break them down. I think he uses the showboating to create openings. And I think he'll do it against these people. Mickey Ellison would be a good fight, but poor Mickey, that's a painful night's work. And we're not going to see Whitaker's tested until he gets past British level. But I think he's the business me, and he knows it as well. I'm a fan. I like it. And God knows we need some characters and headline makers, don't we, at the minute? So, I'm a bit of a Whitaker fan, to be honest.
Yeah. Right. Round 3, I want to talk about Josh Kelly. I just wonder where his career is going. And he's got talent, not the talent of Ben Whittaker, but there's talent, a lot of talent there. You know, he went to Channel 5 because he wanted to get away from the zone. He's now and went to the Sauerlands. Sauerlands, we're going to talk of him being the face of Channel 5. He's now back on the zone in a fight this weekend. And it's, it's 3 years since the Evanescence loss, and he bounced back with a great win against Troy Williams. And I thought he was really, really good that night. But he still hasn't kicked on from there. And I just feel it's a career that's treading water. It's almost like the bloke who's in a boat rowing out, having a rowing in the sea in a rowing boat, and he can see the coastline to get back, but he can't quite reach it. It's a career treading water. I just want to see where you guys think it's going wrong, or is it going right in your opinions?
I think you look at the Evanescence fight, but if you think before that, the fight where I started, not say the wheels started to fall off, but when people started to question, remember when he fought on the Joshua Ruiz card against Ray Robinson?
In America, yeah.
And he struggled. He got a draw, and that for me wasn't a draw all day. I think it's because of being the matchroom fighter at the time. I started the Evanescence fight. He started well, but we all know what Evanescence is like. He just literally, obviously, Carl Greaves had a plan, and he just dominated him, didn't he? So, and I don't know. It's all that talent there, and is it going to come to fruition? The channel, like you said, he's gone to Channel 5, Sauerlands, but what the Sauerlands going to, they've got their interest in the misfits, and I think that carries a bit away from the Channel 5 stuff as well.
More money.
So I think, and Eddie's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's got enough success stories, and was it the right decision? You make these decisions with the full suite of information in front of you, don't you? So you can't really regret moving, but like you said, is he stagnating a bit? Because he's a talented kid. Look what he did to Troy Williamson from bell to bell.
Yeah.
And he absolutely dominated him. But what's next? It's like he keeps threatening this world title fight that never seems like, it's not materialized so far. So I don't know. It's for me, it's just, like you said, the analogy about the shore and just rowing away. Are you rowing in a circle?
John?
I think they've had the right idea, the Sauerlands.
Really?
But Josh just hadn't kicked on. They made a local derby with Troy Williamson up in the northeast.
Oh, yeah.
Josh dominated it. He's on in Sunderland this weekend. But I was speaking to someone earlier, actually. Sunderland are playing Bristol City away on Saturday. So they've put him on in Sunderland, a stone's throw from the stadium. And Sunderland are playing hundreds of miles away. So there's not going to be many people there. I think they've had the right idea, but Josh just hasn't kicked on at all, has he? If you look at the pecking order of light middleweights now, look at the impact Crocker had against McKenna. Look at Ajarko's gone on from Williams. Kelly's just fell down the list. He needs another big win to get himself back relevant, but whether he's still got it in him to come through another hard fight, I think he's missed his opportunity after Williamson, really.
And it made even worse for him, John, on Saturday. If anyone from Newcastle's thinking of going to enemy territory, they won't go because they'll be shocked after Fulham smash them at St James's Park. Anyway, on to round 4. And John, what's a fight this weekend?
Yeah, I tell you, we've been talking about this for a long time, haven't we? Sonny against Bam. The ultimate clash of styles. 2 tremendous fighters, both excellent at what they do. I still can't pick a winner. I can't. Normally, you start getting an inkling, you start getting a feeling. Sonny's talking himself into a frenzy if you've been following what he's been saying recently, whereas Bam's just completely retreated away from the limelight. So it's been pretty hard to get a gauge on them both. Oh, I just think it's going to be who gets it right on the night. If Bam can be in the fight after 4 rounds, you'd expect Sonny to get off to a good start, but if Bam can make him fight, I would probably favour Bam to come on strong. If Sonny skates the first 4 rounds, I think Sonny might run away with it, but I think we'll know after 4 rounds what's going to happen, but asking me right now, I can't pick a winner. I think it's a great fight.
Yeah, I'm just edging towards Sonny. I think he'll be one of those where we've seen it before where he's been pulled back late, but I think he'll be in such a commanding lead going in to the second half. It's the last third of the fight is whether Bam Bam can pull it back. You could have one of those where it's Bam Bam gets it and Sonny looks to have done enough, but Sonny's certainly been, you know, I swore, I'm not going to go what he was on about yesterday. I don't want to get in any trouble, but you might have seen Sonny on the rampage on Twitter yesterday. So whether that's nerves or a little bit of anger with him at the last bit of weight.
Himself up, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think that's what I'm trying to say. You know, just look at his Twitter feed yesterday on Sunday if you're wondering what he was up to. Anyway, well, it's a brilliant unification. You know, they're both, the best could still be to come from these two in a year or two in their careers. They're 27 and 24, is it? I think Sonny's 27. Is Bam 23 or 24? It's fantastic. You know, we moan so much that fights happen too late. And it's criminal that we've got a British fighter in such a brilliant fight and it's going under the radar to the mainstream. As I say, more people in the mainstream were talking about Ben Whittaker than Sonny Edwards, in my opinion. And I just think it's criminal that it's been allowed to go under the mainstream. Real shame. Great fight. Ryan.
For me, yeah, I'm on the fence on this one. I think I was edging towards Sonny, and I agree with what John's saying. I think if Sonny's in the lead in the first 4 rounds, then he can he can keep Bam at bay. But Sonny likes to fight at his own pace, doesn't he? Like a lot of fighters, and I just think Bam, if he doesn't let him settle into his own pace and he's in his face, you know, knockout record speaks for itself. You know, like it's an absolute styles make fights, and if Bam gets it up in him and he keeps him in that, takes him out of his comfort zone, takes him into deep water, then you can't split him. I'd like to see Sonny win. For me, Sonny Edwards is the pound for pound best British fighter at the minute for me. But you know, you'd like to see, and like you're saying that, like you said about the fights that we moan that they don't happen, and it's a great time for it to happen. It's a shame it's going really well under the radar to a point, but yeah, I can't. It's an absolute pick 'em. I'd like to think Sonny, and I think if I had to put money on it now, I'd say Sonny, but it's going to be a fight and a half if it lives up to expectation.
Brilliant. Round 5. Ryan, you're going to start us off about showing some support for ExBoxers.
Yeah, not just ExBoxers really. I think what really brought it to my mind is with the Jordan Gill when he beat Conlan the other week. He was mentioning about how close he was to committing suicide, and it just it had me thinking. I had a discussion in the gym about it. The fact that there's enough to do. There's enough done with helping both boxers. I've said it to Ant Crawler before when I've been down there. Helped ex-boxers or current boxers and ex-boxers while they're in the sport and when they leave, because especially compared to football, you've got the PFA, you've got the same equivalent in rugby, and I just think those sports when you all together as a team, but boxing's such a solo sport and everything's targeted on you there. So when all the music stops, there's no backing. Like I said, I've said it to Ant Crawler. For every one of him who's walked away from the sport, with taking more out of the sport than he has out of it. He's taken more than the sport's taken out of him, sorry. There's another 10, 20. We could list people we know. There's people we know that I'm not going to name names now that are struggling, and as an ex-addict, I'll call it myself, I know that people aren't ready. And until you're ready to sort yourself out or ready to get on board, you can't be helped. But there's not enough guidance, I don't think, in the sport. People do stuff with the ExBoxers Association, but there's not enough going on for me to help these guys, it's like the best way to describe it from going from being a pro boxer to not, it's like leaving the army. and trying to learn as a civvy, you know, and there's no backing or no support. Well, there's not enough support for me in the sport. Like I said, there's plenty of people. There's people we know personally, Steve and John, that are struggling at the minute or that could so much benefit with having that kind of body or something they can rely on, or something. Not that if they had to use it, but it's there and it's in the background.
Yeah, it's a real. I agree with what you say. The problem with, I think we've discussed this before, and it's something I've chatted with Buncey quite a bit. It's how do these get financed? These things, you know, like football's lucky. It's more structured with a PFA, and footballers are on this mad money where they can play a percentage to the PFA to pay for when footballers need counselling, private in boxing. You know, it's just not going to happen. Promoters, you know, small promoters just lose money hand over fist. It's where the money comes from to pay for it. We've got this Ringside Charitable Trust that's doing their best, and I've nothing against them at all. They mean well, but I don't even think they've looked at the true cost of what these things will cost to run. Where if they get the whole thing off the ground. I
don't want to get myself fined, but you know, we pay enough fees in certain ways to the board, don't we?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
An element of percentage, even a small percentage taken for every fee that we have to pay to the board. You know, I'm not, you know, I know that it's a lot more. I'm looking at it in real layman's terms. It's a lot more complicated than that, but
yeah,
there's so many. We could write lists if we took away me, John, yourself, took a list. We could write lists of people who have struggled, even in just Manchester fighters since they left the sport. Never mind the UK, never mind the world.
Yeah. What's your take, John?
There's a lot of fighters who go well, though, isn't there, as well? You know, a lot of fighters who go into it with their eyes open. They go into it knowing it's going to be hard. If you have another job, it's not going to work out. They get another job. I know lots of fighters like that as well. You know, so there are bad stories and there are people who struggle. But I also know probably a longer list of people who've done well. You know, who have just given the sport up. They stay involved. They nip in the gym, and they're just getting on with their day-to-day lives. And but like Steve said, you know, it's for people that struggle, really struggle. But where does the money come from? You know, if you were to take a little percent, you can't take a percentage off the fighters' purses because the people we're talking about don't earn enough to do that anyway.
Yeah, and most promoters don't. I mean, you know, they break even. I think, you know.
Yeah.
Steve Wood showed Saturday night. I think he might have. I'm not sure. I was talking this morning. He thinks he may have broken even. Where his last 2 weeks, he's had a bath. You know, the VIP show. So I don't think small promoters can give in, and the big time promoters just aren't going to do it and say we'll put in a percentage of our TV money. I think it's something we could talk about all night. But
if you're British title level or above, then you should really be putting a little bit away. I know it's not mega money. It's not what people probably think, but you should be able to be all right. The people who struggle tend to be people who get paid peanuts, who can't afford to put a little bit of the money away because they live paycheck to paycheck, fight purse to fight purse.
It's like some journeymen are brilliant with their money, absolutely brilliant. Whereas I know one who saved every penny. I was reading about another one there, and I didn't know. I know it's his last year, MJ Hall, and Kane Baker was tweeting about him saying it's fantastic. He's so close to the end of his career and has nearly paid his house off. So, you know, so there are, you know, success stories from it. But
Fonz is the same. I spoke to Fonz before, and
very sensible fella.
Very, very clever the way to do it.
Very clever.
I understand what John's saying. You know, it's like these people have got. It's like all of my pros have got other jobs. You know, so it's just, and maybe, maybe it's not what after the sport, but just helping.
It's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult, and there's so many success stories. You know, like I said, you know, not even just like I've mentioned Ant Crawler before, but the levels below people that have finished in the sport, and I always say to everybody that comes in the gym that's either Reese or anybody who's come to me with it, Ryan, Rob, or even Jess when she goes pro, and it's like, you need to, what do you want to gain out of the sport? Because I don't want to hear you want to be a world champion. What do you want to get out of the sport? And as long as you can take more out of the sport than it takes out of you, then you've won. Doesn't have to be a British title, don't have to be a world title, don't have to be a European title, a Central Area title. You win more than you lose, you make more money, whatever it is. You've just got to try and make sure that you take more out of the sport than it does out of you.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
See the time.
I'll have to fly through round 6 here. We just got 3 and a bit minutes left. So, John, you'll have to ring that bell and we'll have to shut up. Tell you what it is. It's about, how much Saudi Arabia are running the show now. Jay Opetaia is now almost certainly going to give up his IBF title because he's got this lucrative 2-fight deal in Saudi Arabia because they won't let him defend against Ellis Zorro. Now, this isn't about the merits of Ellis Zorro or anything, but it just shows how much clout these bucks in Saudi Arabia are having. That, a guy that's clearly head and shoulders above every cruiserweight in the world, well, I think so, is just going to throw his belt in the bin, almost like Riddick Bowe did for different reasons to fight Lillis. He's dumping that IBF belt, most probably in the Royal Mail in Australia, and sending it back to their headquarters in New Jersey because he wants his Saudi money. And I wonder how much more of this we're going to see. I mean, he's going to defend, he says, the ring belt, but I wonder if Ring Magazine might say something. We don't want Ellis Zorro fighting, but that's by the by. But it just shows what this money's doing to boxing. That, a world title to one of the elite fighters in boxing is now secondary, a man who's head and shoulders above each division. We just got to be quick on this one. So, Ryan, your opinion?
Well, it just showed, like we said about Saudi money there. Look at with them in the Premier League. Those owners, their wealth is vastly more than all the other owners put together, and that's included City. So the money is there, and they're just, for me, in the romanticised view, I'd like Opetaia to say, no, I want to fight, keep my belt. But what we just said about people making money out of the sport, I know he's at the top level, but, you're in a finite amount of time at the top of your game. And he's obviously being offered an exorbitant amount of money to kind of relinquish or to lose his belt. So for me, the heart of me would like him to say, I don't want to see the money, I want to keep my belt. But with his head, I think he's making a financial decision that's going to support his family for probably the long time anyway.
John?
Not that I agree with it, but, that's unfortunate. That's the way the sport's going.
Yeah, when you think about what he went through to win that belt with his double broken jaw, but I think Opetaia's proven himself to be the best cruiserweight on the planet by an absolute mile. I think if any fighter can do it, I think it's probably Opetaia, because everyone knows he's the best. Everyone knows he's the champion. He's number one. I know what he's getting paid for this, and I can't blame him at all. So, and I tell you what a character as well. What a character Jai Opetaia is. Don't get a question wrong with Jai Opetaia because he lets you know. So,
right. He's told you off then before, John.
Fair play to both of them.
He's told you off before, John.
No, I stayed straight. I was good.
Well, I'll get it on the next podcast. Anyway, that was our last bell to bell for the year. Ryan was a brilliant guest. John's been on top form as always. It just flew past tonight. We'll have Ryan back on in a couple months again. He's great value on this and offers top insight. Merry Christmas, everybody, and we'll see you just before the new year. Thanks very much.
For all boxing info, news, and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.